times isn't so nice. Looks like Santa, but he acts a lot more like an elf. Okay, I'll stop now.
Hey, we're here again.
It's like we're back.
It's Greg Olear. He's with us.
Oh my God.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. We're doing it live when we would do this straight on Substack. I feel like we don't want to get rid of that tradition because mocking Bill O'Reilly is really important.
So I have to complain about something, and that is there's this crazy old man who keeps showing up on my television. I think he's the same old crazy old demented man who keeps yelling at the kids to get off the lawn. And now they've named the Kennedy Center after him. The board of directors of the Kennedy Center, according to White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt, says that they have decided to rename the Kennedy Center the Trump Kennedy Center.
When we had Chris Matthews on here, and I talked about, because he wrote the book on, and I talked about being a Kennedy-ophile, if that exists. I was being honest. Like, I am a fan and love a lot and read a lot, and anything I could say right now would get me arrested. So I'm not going to say any of those things because I'm so fucking livid.
Well, I wonder if instead of the National Symphony Orchestra performing at the Kennedy Center under the Trump Kennedy Center, maybe it'll be, I don't know, the National
Socialist
Machine.
or the National Socialist.
Right. Exactly. They're going to have a couple guys are going to show up missing a few teeth with some fucking banjos and some Nazi fucking paraphernalia. And they're just going to start playing some shit while they're drinking moonshine and spitting on the floor. And that's what it's going to become. I mean, everything has to be de-Trumped when he's gone. Like steam clean everything.
There's not enough sage in the world, Is it? I mean, maybe they should rename the Kennedy Center, but make sure that people know it's no longer for JFK, but it's for Kennedy from MTV. I mean, I think we should go that route.
Oh, but she's a Republican. Fuck her.
Right.
I mean, the Caroline Leavitt announcement is worth me reading verbatim here. She wrote, I have just been informed that the highly respected board of the Kennedy Center, some of the most successful people from all parts of the world, have just voted unanimously to rename the Kennedy Center to the Trump Kennedy Center because of the unbelievable work President Trump has done over the last year in saving the building, not only from the standpoint of its reconstruction, but also financially and its reputation. Congratulations to President Donald J. Trump, and likewise, congratulations to President Kennedy, because this will be a truly great team long into the future. The building will no doubt attain new levels of success and grandeur. Does she not know that he's buried in Arlington Cemetery?
No, she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know who. Ask her what number president he was. Ask her when he served. Ask her anything, and she'll know none of the answers to those questions. Again, she's busy getting bedpans for her husband. He's like 85. Like, she's too busy to do any of this stuff. Right, Greg? Greg's with me.
I'm looking at the, I mean, if we're going to read the announcement, we should at least also list who's on the board of directors since they're so well respected.
An esteemed group who either are not esteemed or had machine guns held up to them.
Maria, I'm not going to read all of them. Maria Bartiromo,
of course,
Pam Bondi, Elaine Chao, let's see here. Sergio Gore, remember him? The guy that was running the White House, and then they found out he was from Russia, and now he's not one of the White House anymore. Lee Greenwood, Laura Ingraham, let's see, Dan Scavino, because he was a really good caddy.
I got in a fight with him once on Twitter. Good to know.
Susie Wiles, Usha Vance, and Paulo Zampoli, best known as the person who brought Melania Trump to the United States. So,
and I'm sure then has no connection to Jeffrey Epstein. My God.
So let's talk about the speech last night, right?
You put a collection of people together. Can I read you what Donald Trump said in response to it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Here's a quote from him. Here we go, and it's not my fault. You know, they say groceries. Nobody said that before me, and it was a beautiful thing, and Donald Trump is indicted again, and it's not my fault. Did you see what the toilet and how it was running like it was dripping from a faucet. So we have closed border, and Epstein barely knew him. Not my fault. I want to release them. I may be lying again. Eggs. What about eggs? Have you heard about eggs? My God, it's terrible. And the economy, true. $18 trillion. What a number. They say it's the biggest number ever. And I think that's what he said. That's it.
Is that Gertrude Stein, or is that like a transcript from the? Like...
I actually made that shit up for today because, with Lawrence earlier, we were joking about like what Trump actually said last night. And I'm like, can I write what I think he said last night? And I just kind of went with all of that because that you could believe if I wasn't laughing and joking that would be something he said. I mean, there was nothing in there from the jumping from one thought to another to the way he's done. It's like, who was it talking to? Who were we talking? Were we talking yesterday, David? It was, we're talking about how like the specific fact that all these traits you start off with. I think it was Hal Sparks, obviously, but you start off with narcissism and sociopathy and the various things wrong with them are all the exact ones that get worse with dementia.
Yeah,
right? Like the impulsivity, the fits of anger. So it's like we're now seeing a condensed form of who Donald Trump is, and it gets worse every day.
Well, what I don't quite understand, and I totally agree with you, but even somebody who's demented, do all demented people, when they give a speech, do they scream at you? Do they shriek? I mean, what did he think that just by sheer volume, he would somehow be able to convince people that they can close the gap between what they're actually feeling financially and the nonsense he's saying?
It worked in the debate.
Yeah.
If you do that and you also prowl behind Hillary at the debate, like you're a hyena that has not been fed on the Serengeti, then perhaps again, it's all so fucking stupid. And you're sitting here, Greg, and you're going to say no, but fuck you. I'm not letting you say this.
Best intro ever.
That's how I know. That's yeah. Because Greg will be modest the way you are, David. When I introduce you and I say you have an Emmy, and you're like, it was a group of us. Greg is an incredible novelist. I've read Greg's work. He's one of the best writers I've ever read. I mean, just brilliant fucking writer. And like, I don't how could you conjure this? Could you come up with a novel that would create half of this shit that we've seen happen? I mean, it just never ends.
Thank you for the intro. I appreciate it. Do you want a real answer for this, or do you want me to?
I do, because in all seriousness, like I knew you'd be modest, but you are someone I consider to be. I read often your Substacks, which everybody should, just for the quality of your writing. And I can say that about very few people where I feel that way. But on top of that, you're a creative guy and you've written novels and like, could you come up with this? Because I like to think I'm a creative guy and I could not come up with all of this.
First of all, if you came up with what's happening now, people would be like, that would never happen. Stop. Nobody would believe it. So there's that. But I feel like part of the problem that we're having now in this moment in history is the whole idea of what's real and what isn't real has been so blown to smithereens. I blame reality TV, by the way. Just going through the motions. And now with the loss of, or the de-emphasis on the humanities in universities, who's reading like novels anymore? Do people, even the kids they just scroll TikTok. Like you, in order to understand what's happening and to be able to like see it all, you have to have some amount of ability in your brain to imagine stuff. And everybody has that ability, but it isn't being honed anymore because scrolling TikTok all day.
It's like working out or whatever to make your body stronger. If you're not reading, intelligent things, intelligent literature, and then, obviously what comes with that, the critical thinking,
but like, you're reading something, you have to imagine what they're telling you, what does this person look like? What are they doing? Where are they being? I'm describing the scene now. And your brain is forced to imagine these things. No one has been asked to do that in the way that our generation was asked to do that in a really long time. And I feel like, again, David, am the old man on the soapbox now, yelling at people to get off the lawn. I feel like that's part of the problem. I think we have to go back to, emphasizing the humanities You know, they're called the humanities for a reason, for God's sake.
But even in junior high school, they're still teaching basic math. And one of the things that jumped out to me about last night's speech was when he talked about how he was going to reduce drug prices by 400, 500, 600%. Now, if you take a $10 pill and reduce it by 400, first of all, 100%, it's free. 400%, the pharmacy gives you $30 to take it. 600%, the pharmacy gives you $50. I mean, this is sort of like basic stuff, and I can understand.
But he's done this. You bust him on this, David, because you've done those funny videos where you've made fun of him for this. He's done this numerous times.
Right, but that's what gets me is I'm not surprised that he would have the inclination, like he doesn't know better. But there used to be a time when if a president gave a primetime speech to the nation, that the prompter, that his aides would make sure that everything in that prompter was accurate, that there was, that there wouldn't, okay, you're going to shade some things, fine, but whoppers like this, or like $18 trillion Trump has gotten in investment in the United States. His own White House website, which, by the way, economists say is off by a factor of 20. His own economists say it's $9 trillion. Economists say, okay, maybe $500 billion in investment he's gotten in the United States, but that probably includes some pledges already gotten by Joe Biden. So, but these whoppers, to have those written for him in the teleprompter, I mean, who's around him? What's wrong?
I remember when he said he lowered, first of all, that he was even bringing this up because, of course, he's racist and whatever, but he's like, I lowered black crime by 130%. He's just like, all right, how many things are wrong with that statement? I just, I want to kick it to Greg, but the thing is, and we all know the answer to this is that, it's a mobster-run presidency. I mean, it's not a presidency, as you know. There have been presidents that are tyrants, plenty of them. I mean, LBJ was, infamous for making people come in the pooper with him when he would. I mean, they're and read notes to them. But the thing is that they all still wanted to be told to not make fools of themselves and not to say something that stupid. So their aides would come to them and tell them that. As on many campaigns I worked on, I would do that with, a Senate candidate or whatever it might be. Trump, if you come and tell him he's saying something wrong, might just slap you across the face and fire you, and I just think it's the same reason why all these Republicans cower and all these other people. They're just, the senators, like they're just scared of him. So they won't tell him he's wrong, is my guess. But go ahead, Greg.
I think he's not going to listen to him. I think anybody with look at the Vanity Fair photo. I mean, just look at the assemblage of humans that are in that picture. None of them are qualified to do anything. We could pick 7 people at random off the street, and I would rather have them in charge. But I don't think, and maybe you guys can propose this, I don't know of an example of a government like this being run by a traitor before, like actually run by a like in France during the occupation, the Nazis installed the Vichy government. Right. But apart from that,
Pétain running that government, but they installed Pétain.
Yeah. So to have us as the American people elect this guy who is clearly not working for us is, I think that's unprecedented. I think it's unprecedented. And
I think that's your key point. I think that I am aware of, and history is a little bit of my jam. And again, there's plenty of things I don't know, but I can't think of anyone ever elected. There's no doubt one of the reasons that the founders wrote the emoluments clause in there is because there are numerous cases of kingdoms where kings were bought off and they actually ran their country for the benefit of another European country. So that has happened in world history. I just can't think of a time where a group of theoretically, a group of people theoretically that have neurons that fire, and brain tissue that's connected, you know what I mean? And all the other things, looked at all the evidence he was owned by Putin and hated this country and it undermined this country. And we're like, yeah, that's my guy. I can't think. I mean, again, there may be examples I'm not thinking of, but I can't think of any.
I don't know. And we're still, the media is still hesitant to call this out. Like it's like with the Epstein stuff. It's just like, He's in the fucking files, guys. He's in the files. Like what?
Well, two things. I'm so glad you mentioned the media, because there are two things that jumped out to me about the media coverage last night of Donald Trump's speech. So we were watching CBS News. Nora O'Donnell was anchoring. As soon as Donald Trump wrapped, the look on Nora's face when they cut back to her was like bug-eyed. She very quickly got it together, and then she pitched it to Nancy Cortez, who is their senior White House correspondent.
She's like, "You take care of this."
What do you make of both? What do you make of both the style and the substance of what Donald Trump said? And Nancy Cortez, as Nora O'Donnell is asking her the question, Nancy Cortez's eyes go like this. And then she does a big sigh. Well, and so Nancy
I'm
Cortez,
surprised she didn't just like yell fire
and
and run out of the room, because that's what I would have done. I'm like, "There's a
Nancy
fire!"
Cortez was a total consummate pro, and then she gave a fine summary, and she pointed out some of Donald Trump's ridiculous things. But she was a total pro at that point. But even she couldn't hold it together. So there's the mainstream media that clearly sees what is evident to everybody else. On the flip side of this, watching Fox News, who do they put on to analyze Donald Trump? Newt Gingrich, who, let's see, he was last in office 28 years ago. He was kicked out of the House speakership because of ethical lapses and leadership problems. So, of course, he's perfectly suited to analyze.
And I would still argue,
Trump.
David, I make that argument all the time, that he was the first. He was Trump 1.0. When they went from this gentleman from Illinois, Bob Michael, who was moderate and reasonable and would make deals with Democrats, and yes, a Republican and someone I didn't agree with on numerous things, but that's when it functioned. And they went to this fucking circus clown. And
it was a clown last night, because then Newt Gingrich, he compared Donald Trump's speech to a Reagan speech. He said, this is as good as anything Reagan has done. And this is such a great speech because it has set the debate for 2026. And I'm thinking, yeah, it set the debate all right. Should Donald Trump be removed from office because of impeachment, or should he be removed from office because of the 25th Amendment and medical concerns about him?
Or both.
That's the debate.
Can we do it because of both? And international crimes? Can we somehow let The Hague have some access here, even though we haven't joined? And I don't know who else can get him at. But I mean, again, like, he's been saying gibberish forever. This was worse. I mean, again, some of them are worse than others, but he's been saying these kinds of things. And again, as Greg pointed out, whether it's the gibberish you want to talk about, the incompetence in general, the stupidity, the treason, there's a long list of things.
The decade and a half that he spent as the best friend of the most notorious child sex trafficker in recent memory.
That might be something too. And I'm sorry, that shit was out there. Okay.
And my point is that for Americans who don't want to deal with reality, and all of that is reality, there is a very large propaganda echo chamber that exists in American society, thanks to Fox News and conservative media, Newsmax, and all the various blogs. So people can live their entire life without being confronted with the reality of what most people see.
Right. But I always still need to come back to blaming corporate media, because we cannot control in any way. Right-wing media, they created these edifices of bullshit, that share all of this. We allowed, and again, and some of these were Democratic presidents and Democratic Congresses. We allowed them to undo so many rules and laws we had, from you can only own one media outlet in one market, to the fairness doctrine, to so many other things that, to obviously monopolistic rules that gave us, we had 60 or whatever it was, something different, decent sized media organizations in the 80s. And a lot of people thought that was too few. And now we've got 6 that control 90%, which again, we learned these things after the Nazis, and we decided to forget all of it, that, giving people that kind of control. And so we get this corporate garbage that is thrown out there. And again, as you said, like, maybe they were horrified and maybe they were like, what do we say? But they tried to normalize it.
Right.
I'm sure. And all
it's CBS News now. They might get fired if they don't normalize it. Because,
right. Well, now they've got Barry there. But, like in all these other places too, even these various other outlets, CNN is gone to the right. I mean, like, the ones that are there are their only job left at this point is to try to take, honestly, a bunch of gibberish somebody on the corner would say, who, was fucking coked up out of their mind, and try to translate it into something that means something. And they do this all the time, instead of just saying, the dude is fucking crazy. The dude is a traitor. You know, I mean, they didn't even have to say that. If they just, as I've said forever, reported exactly what he said. In fact, add no commentary. Just share exactly what he says as he said it about Putin or the speech last night or whatever, and let people judge based on that. He gets his ass kicked in that last election. I mean, it's that corporate media. The headlines sanitize it. That's most of what people see, chyrons and headlines, and they turn him into somebody that's semi-normal. That's my thing.
I wouldn't say corporate media. I would say oligarch media, because that's what it is.
That's probably
now.
better.
Really, it's 5 people or whatever that own all this shit. And then the New York Times, which I don't even know what to make of them half the time. You know,
80% of the time.
Did you see the new tranche of photos released by the oversight today?
Yes. I was starting to look at them before.
There's David Brooks in there.
Saw David Brooks.
Who wrote the "Hey, Epstein's not a bad guy. Maybe we're barking up the wrong tree" op-ed not a month ago.
Yep.
And that wasn't disclosed. You know, there's one part in the emails where he makes a list for Steve Bannon. Epstein does, and there's all these names on the list, and Sulzberger is one of the names on the list. I don't know why.
Well, I do.
Why?
You know why?
Why?
We have a great reporter at our place, Ellie Leonard, who may be in here somewhere, who just did a big story on all of this.
She did a good Michael Wolff story. That was good. I like
that one. That was her first great story.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think it'd be hard for her to keep topping herself, but she does. And the more recent one, she was trying to look for that connection you're talking about. And it turns out, now which one is this? I think it was Punch. There's Pinch. Where do these people come up with their fucking names? I swear. But Punch Sulzberger, who I think is the grandfather, right, who was running things in 91 or 92, offered a then just recently fired from being a Dalton math teacher, Epstein, a job at the New York Times. So there is a connection there. Like, he was connected to the Sulzberger family and to the folks at the New York Times. So they could be saying, I mean, again, the problem with all this is they don't disclose it. So
right.
Are they being corrupt? Are they just being obtuse? Are they just being, it's hard to know. But I mean, again, the New York Times has been so consistently terrible.
And what I love about Ellie's piece is then there's a connection, obviously. If there's a connection between the Sulzbergers and Epstein, now you can understand why the New York Times would have this event where they invite Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, who is widely suspected of being, one of the guys who was with Epstein, who allegedly raped a woman, allegedly. The New York Times didn't seem to have any concerns about those allegations and invited him to an event where, New York Times folks interviewed him for public consumption. Really?
Even though it's been confirmed by a number of women. What hasn't happened is he has not been convicted in a court of law. But numerous women who are, at this point, again, from Ellie's piece, which was she vetted, David vetted. I mean, it was a solid piece. There have been numerous women who saw him there, who saw acts being committed or whatever, and that's Virginia. What's her last name? Giuffre's story too, and so in the end, like, we don't know. We don't have a conviction, innocent until proven guilty, and all of that. But there are a bunch of women and others who are like, it's him, and yet, even with all of that knowledge, Ellie, I mean, she's a force of nature. She had her own transcription company, and she would do the New York Times deal book thing every year, and she got herself fired because she spoke publicly and said, "This is insane. You're inviting Ehud Barak under these circumstances. How can you do that?" And the New York Times just kind of blew her off and was like, "Oh, we'll take you under what you're saying under consideration." And then they invited him, and she got fired. So point is that, and I know you've said this in the past, and I respect you, Greg. I do. When you've pointed out the investigative pieces by the New York Times and whatever, but I feel like at this point they have done so much damage.
Even the investigative pieces.
No investigative piece can they ever write that can make up for Trump. We find no connection between Trump and Russia. Hillary's emails. Right after the election, they don't go and interview black voters or other voters, where we won by 2 million votes in the end. Hillary did in 2016. They show up here to Ohio like they're Jane Goodall, and we're, and they're doing an anthropological experiment, showing up at our coffee houses here. Like, what does the average Ohio primate think? about Trump. And, and like, I mean, there's just been so much stupid that's come out of there. Even a few headlines that I've seen the past couple of days with this stuff has been utterly ridiculous.
Well, the piece, they did a big piece earlier this week about how Epstein got his money. And there's stuff in there that's good. There's new stuff in there. But in the first couple paragraphs, they immediately poo-poo any idea of Epstein being associated with intelligence services as conspiracy theories. Now, Ehud Barak was not only the former prime minister of Israel, he was the head of the fucking military intelligence
exactly
in Israel during the 80s, during all the, the period of Iran-Contra, when Epstein was working for Douglas Leese, who worked for MI6.
I was about to give you another one.
There's
right?
There's two right
Can
there.
I give you a third one? Do you know who Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was? Does anybody know? Anybody want to guess?
That's KGB.
Right.
This is the thing. But like, don't tell me that it's a conspiracy theory, and then you're gonna go interview Ehud Barak in the next breath of like, what are you talking about?
And we know that it also, again, you can't say that he worked with, but that he didn't have any connections. Was it Les Gelb who got him a briefing at Langley? I mean, like he was getting briefings by the CIA and maybe the FBI too. I mean, he had all sorts of connections to. Are you kidding me? He also had a connection to, in this guy's name, you'll know it, comes up in so many evil places that it makes me just want to dig further in the whole Putin connection. But he was connected to Viktor Veckelsberg, who is an oligarch, Russian oligarch who comes up again and again. And a lot of people forget it was Viktor Veckelsberg, I want to say was his nephew, who came here to the United States and, at a young age, I'm trying to remember if he made money in anything or just handed family money. Guess who he was a huge donor and supporter of? You'll never guess. George Santos. I mean, like, it just, again, if you can't believe.
Are we sure it was George Santos?
Mr. Fabulous.
Well, it's George Santos, or what was her name? Katara. I mean, look, you can't believe in conspiracies anymore because there just don't seem to be any left. They all seem to be true. I don't know what to do with it. Like Epstein joined the Trilateral Commission. Like, the Council
did say
of
that.
Foreign Relations.
I jumped out of my chair when I read that sentence. It's like,
right.
The
just Council of Foreign Relations. You know who he hung out with? Like, what's her name? And I love her. Lady, whatever the fuck, the Rothschild. I can't think of her first name right now. Lynn, in her case, the Rothschild. There's a Rothschild involved in this. Like, I mean,
of course
I'm out of conspiracy. Is Soros in there somewhere? I don't know.
So, Greg, you mentioned obviously, Trump is in the Epstein files. There are pictures, according to Michael Wolff, of Trump with half-naked teenage girls sitting on his lap and a stain on his pants. The big question is, does this come out in the dump that we expect tomorrow? Are there pictures, videos, the whole gamut that gets released? And I'd like to think that at least the law that was passed by Congress requires for everything, even all the unredacted stuff, to be sent to the House Intelligence Committee so they can keep track of what is being redacted in the public release. But what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, well, wow. If it's against the law to not redact it, I suppose he's going to just do that. He's never not done that before. Like, I look, if it comes out, I will be pleasantly surprised, but I don't expect a damn thing. We have our show tomorrow night. I don't think that we're going to be talking about it, because there'll be some big revelation tomorrow. There might be. The David Brooks thing is interesting, but we're getting these little bits.
Yeah.
David, you've talked to people about what we might see in these things, and tweeted about it. So, but like it, I don't know. I just don't think we're going to get it. But can I ask you guys a question?
Yep.
Not about anything specific, but I'm looking at these files that oversight Dems are releasing that come from, I believe, the Jeffrey Epstein estate.
They're from the estate. They're not from there. Yeah.
So every couple of days or every week or so, they release like a dozen or a dozen and a half photos. And sometimes there's people in there that we don't know necessarily was, like Noam Chomsky, for example, and now David Brooks and people like that. But then there's a bunch of photos of like the water heater and this and that. What do you think there's like something strategic going on with how they're releasing the files? Like, why would they release, for example, a picture of Epstein with the Segway guy and Richard Branson when we haven't mentioned the Segway guy at all? Does this serve some strategic 3D chess purpose, or is it just they're just picking shit at random? Like, what do you think?
My guess is they're picking shit at random, that there's not much strategery, as Bush used to say, going on in the House Oversight Committee among the Dems. However, I think there is something to be said about releasing things out in dribs and drabs and stretching out the story and providing some new wrinkles, because, there's a whole sort of audience out there. And I also still believe, and I'm convinced, that there are enough people in Washington who worked at the DOJ and FBI who had access to the FBI files, the 1,000 or so that were hired to scrub this stuff, and there were no precautions taken about who could see what. I think between all of those folks, between the universe of people who know what's in the files, I still think that if Donald Trump's DOJ and FBI releases incomplete stuff, we won't know that immediately tomorrow night. It may take a couple days, but I think eventually there are going to be people, DOJ, FBI whistleblowers, who will then call their friends in Congress and say, there's some stuff missing here, and here's what's missing. And then it gets really intriguing, because at that point, a few Republicans, Massey, and then all the Democrats have said, if we don't get a complete release, there's going to be trouble. And the trouble,
you better do it before MTG leaves.
No, the trouble that Massey has said is that Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene have said, if we don't at least get the names of the top 20 celebrities, actors, musicians, business people who were friends and clients of Jeffrey Epstein, we will release those names. We will name them on the House floor.
Right.
At what point does Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey do that? My sense is maybe not over the winter holidays, maybe not in December, but if by January they've gotten enough information from their contacts and sources that stuff is being withheld, I think they say, screw this, we're just going to talk about this ourselves.
Well, that could be a hell of a last day there for Marjorie Taylor Greene in January.
Yeah.
You think about it, to get up if she wants her ultimate revenge. But I mean, my thought on this the whole time, Greg, it has been, first of all, I think the Epstein estate obviously gave all of these items, and I don't sense that most of them there's any strategy behind it, or if that's what you were asking, if you're just asking strategy behind the House Oversight Dems, I mean, just even putting Democrats and strategy in the same sentence. I wish it weren't the case, trust me. But I'll just finish it this way quickly and then jump in, which is, I think I've been very suspicious since the beginning, and people forget that at the end, Epstein and Trump were in a fight, and they fought over a real estate deal. It had nothing to do with anything else, and they were not friendly. They, in fact, they loathed each other by the end. So I am quite suspicious that the Epstein estate is trying to release everything that will be as damaging to Donald Trump as possible, because there have been a number of things in there that we didn't know about Trump. The birthday card, some of these things that have come out, they've been the ones responsible. And that's why I believe the whole time we're not going to get anything real from the House, because they'll have disappeared everything. But as David said, other people that saw things in the FBI, other agencies that we've been told that have access to these files, other spy services, could it be MI6, could it be, certain members of the Mossad, who the hell knows? But the point is, it's not like it's just in one place. And therefore, anything that is that damaging and in that many places, I have a feeling we're going to get something from somewhere.
What I mean also by strategy, like there's a picture of Trump it looks like he's on an airplane. This is a while ago. This is probably from the early 90s. And he's with a blonde woman whose face is redacted the right word to use when you're redacting a face? Is that the right verb? I was writing this.
Great question.
Sure. I don't know, but you can't tell who she is, and that's it. It's just him and this woman, and her face is redacted. So it's like, and she doesn't look like she's 12. It's a grown person as far as I can tell. What's the point of releasing that photo at all? Like, are they trying to send a message to the woman in the photo saying, come forward now?
Maybe or
are they trying to send a message to Donald saying, look what we have. We have a picture of you with her, which means we talked to her.
Could be that.
That's what I mean. Like but you're probably right. There's no strategy.
Well, also, was that one on Epstein's plane? I mean, some of it initially, especially, could have been, because he's like, I was never on his plane, just to kind of prove it. I mean, all you needed were the flight logs from Teterboro Airport for that. But I mean, there could be that. I don't know. Crazy, man.
I don't know.
This is our world. Again, we're living in House of Cards.
And so then it begs the question of between the Epstein files. I mean, I was shocked last night that Donald Trump didn't say really much about Venezuela. I don't even think he mentioned Venezuela in a speech last night. And there was Tucker Carlson saying, "Oh, Donald Trump's going to declare war in Venezuela." And the theory was, oh, there's, among some of us is, oh, there's a wag the dog effort here by Donald Trump that in order to take attention away either from the Epstein files or move the public away from Trump's horrifying tweet about Rob Reiner, that Donald Trump needed a reset. And so Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, says, give a big speech to the nation and people will, focus on that. What do you make of that argument that this is, Donald Trump was trying to reset the table. He was trying to redirect attention away from Reiner, possibly away from the Epstein files. It seems like if he really wanted to do that, the best thing he could have done is, I'm giving Venezuela's Maduro until the end of the year to get out of there, or we're going to bomb the hell out of you.
Right. Some bullshit kind of thing that doesn't mean anything, but sounds like a threat.
I think he's a coward, though. If they really go to war with Venezuela, like let's say they go over and bomb something there or something like that. It's illegal and Hegseth and whatever, but then suddenly we're at war, and then he becomes a wartime president, which cuts into his time for watching TV, golfing, and ogling the girls at Mar-a-Lago. So I don't think he wants to do that. That's the only good thing about him, is that I feel like he doesn't want that. Like it's too much for him to handle, I think.
That's been my theory, by the way, also domestically, while he hasn't come after a lot of people that I thought, in a manner in which somebody like him would, is I think he's just too lazy.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to deal with it.
It's too lazy. I really think Hegseth and Rubio are the prime movers behind the Venezuela stuff. And I don't know why, other than they just like to kill people.
Well, I mean, Hegseth, Hegseth is what you see is what you got, right? A Christian nationalist tattooed guy whose own mother basically called him a piece of shit in a letter, who is impregnating Fox producers while he's still married to his other wife, and I don't remember which one in the line of wives. This who became a backup anchor at Fox. I mean, he's just a fucking clown, and that's all he's ever been. The shame of it is Rubio, who's not somebody I'm going to say anything positive like Rubio is some great statesman. You know what I mean? He could have been a hell of a backbencher. I could have been a contender. The thing about Rubio is he's the only one of any of them who, in a normal administration, still doesn't get appointed because he absolutely doesn't have enough experience for that job, but hasn't, that I'm aware of, committed any either financial or sexual crimes that he's been accused of. So that makes him unique among them anyhow, and that he actually served in the Senate, I think was it Armed Services, one of the Foreign Relations, one of those committees, and had some background. So it is surprising to me that he would be this stupid if he is the one pushing Venezuela. I would think that he might know better. Hegseth is a guy, Hegseth's a just blow that shit up kind of guy, and don't think he's a fucking frat boy.
I think Rubio proved that he has absolutely no moral character and no spine. Back when Elon Musk was doing the Doge cuts to USAID, which Rubio knew was going to cause hundreds of thousands of people to lose their lives, and Rubio went along with it. He could have had the political power. He had the capacity in Washington to stand in Washington to say, no, we're going to cut the State Department, but we're not going to cut USAID. We're going to reform it, whatever he wanted to say. Instead, he just rolled over. He rolled over for Elon Musk. It was.
I absolutely think he's a coward in every sense of, that he has no character and he's a coward. I just meant that, like.
No, I know he was sort of vaguely real for one shining moment. Right. Yeah, but he's
vaguely real for a Trump administration filled with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and this collection of characters. Again, this is all comparative.
That's a great segue. Aren't we going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about the love story between Kash Patel and his girlfriend?
Oh yeah. Well, the fact. How can anybody question the flights when there's love? He has to be there. You think he ever goes dressed up in that cool outfit that he wore for that photo shoot with the boots on? And
was that really him, or was his face photoshopped on? I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't know. Who the fuck?
The
eyes staring in the same direction.
All of the stories, and we can talk about the girlfriend and the trip to Nashville on government dime, all that kind of stuff. The story that I think is that I love the most about Kash Patel, or maybe I hate the most, either way, is that I guess when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and Kash Patel flies to Utah, and Kash Patel is demanding to have an FBI jacket, and he doesn't have one. And so his detail has to try to come up with one. And then he screams at the detail because it doesn't have the right patches on it. So then they have to like take their patches off their jacket and sew
what's
it
on
on
an Iron
jacket.
Cross on it?
And he's wearing a woman's FBI jacket with the right patches so that he can appear in front of the cameras with his. Really?
And he was mad. He was furious that it was a woman's jacket. He was furious about it. That's
that's who they all are. That's the thing. I mean, again.
So the girlfriend, what does she see in Kash Patel other than, I guess, maybe a government plane and power? Is that it?
I'm not going to say anything publicly about her because I don't want to get sued. So that's it.
Oh.
Why? And I don't want Kash Patel to send the FBI to my house. You know,
why would she sue you more than anybody else we've talked about so far?
I am not at liberty to say. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Are you old friends?
No. I don't know her at all.
Yeah. I don't even know her name. So I'm not
is her country music very good? I mean, I'm not a country music fan. What do the critics say about her talents?
I'm going to quote, you know, the baseball episode of The Simpsons where Darryl Strawberry goes up and they both play right field, and Homer says to Darryl Strawberry, "Are you better than me?" And Strawberry says, "Well, I've never met you, but yes." So I've never listened to the country music, but it's not good. Yeah. That's
okay. So you think compared to Lara Trump,
I was going to say it's
doing I Won't Back Down, and honestly causing glass to break throughout the land. Do we think on that scale, why are these people so bad at everything? Like,
we're joking, but this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. They're all failed artists in some way. They're frustrated artists, as Hitler was, as Stalin was.
Yes.
You know, this is like the MO with these people. They're all, if you go back far enough in their past histories, they all wanted to be something, you know, the movie stars or models,
Trump,
or
right?
Whatever.
Wanted to be part of the liberal, elite in New York, where they would accept him, part of that, she crowd, and they rejected him.
Or some kind of like, comic stand-up insult comic or something, I don't know.
But you're right. I think you're right about all of that. Like, I mean, there's a show we were on one time. Were you on that with me, David? Where I started going through all of their names. Candace Owens originally wanted to be a model.
Mm-hmm.
Dana Loesch was like tried out for certain TV shows.
She was on TV shows, wasn't
was she?
She was, yeah.
She pitched being a hot mom actress or something on some show, which I thought was funny. Before the NRA gig, like, Lauren Boebert put out modeling, if you want to call them that. They're a little more provocative pictures. I mean, that it's exactly right. These are people that all want to be famous and they can't do it with any talents, so they become politicians.
Or these influencer people, like Tim Pool is in a band, So
yeah, that's right. And the one from the one that won in Miami, who was a Democrat who became a Republican, who's crazy and had a German name originally, and it became, embraced the Latina name when it became time to look her up. A congresswoman. She was an Instagram influencer.
I know who you mean. She has two first names, right?
Yeah, well, her name was
Anna Marie something.
Yes, Anna Maria Paulina. It was like Anna Maria Dieterhofer or some shit. But that didn't work well in South Florida, so.
Well, and this gets to why I think my psychological theory about why Donald Trump went crazy over, the Rob Reiner murder, because Donald Trump has always wanted to have the same sort of status as Rob Reiner, and that is universally loved in Hollywood, regardless of Reiner's politics. He was a mensch. Everybody liked him. Reiner was, friends with very powerful people, and people just adored him. And Rob Reiner had a certain acceptance in that sort of world that Donald Trump could never dream of. And so I think Donald Trump has always been envious of that. And so when Rob Reiner gets murdered, Donald Trump gets to sort of stick his own, hey, you were a Trump derangement syndrome, and make it about Trump when it's really about Trump saying, I wish I could have been like him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, again, the original stuff about him, first he wanted to be part of the New York elite, and sure, Hollywood elite too, and all that. And that's why he responds when it's Bruce Springsteen or Robert De Niro, and he's so angry, because when it's the ones that are the big stars who made it, because, they are actually fucking talented. And, he could never do it, even though he came from a wealthy family. He had every advantage to be able to make it in that world, but he couldn't because he sucks. So, he did what he did. He became a con man, and he can't stand that they always would look at him as this sort of gauche interloper, and that was it. That he's hated he's always hated the left, and I think not the left, but liberal minded sort of celebrities or whatever because of that. Because he can't be one of them.
Yep.
Not like Greg can be.
Greg is universally loved.
Oh, how can you not love Greg?
How can you not love Greg?
Thanks, guys. That's very, very generous of you.
So what are you working on now, Greg? That's a good transition to us promoting you and talking about, you always have smart pieces coming along, whether it's Russia or something else. What do you got going on?
Well, I'm in the midst of a mammoth Jeffrey Epstein Q&A where it's basically I'm asking questions and answering them, and that format I think makes it easier for people to follow along and for myself to follow along. So I've had now 3 installments of that, and I'm working on the 4th and final one. It could be like 20-something thousand words all told when all has been done. And then last week I had Brooke Harrington on my podcast, and that was a really good interview. She wrote a book called Offshore, which is just, and it's short. It's like 120 something pages that goes into, basically what offshores are, how they're set up, how they operate, just a real kind of primer about it, but also drawing from her own experience because she was like embedded in the group of wealth managers. So she has sources other people don't have. So that was everything she said on that interview was fascinating, I thought. So, so that came out last Friday, and I don't know. Then I think I'm going to take like a week or so off around these holidays that are coming up. My son turns 21 on Christmas Day. So,
wow.
Birthday. Yeah.
Is he just going to take him out and get him hammered?
Nothing's open. But he's home now. So, but nothing's open on Christmas, Cliff. That's the problem,
So he was born on Christmas. That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so delighted about it.
I feel like I've heard of another guy. I'm just kidding.
Humphrey Bogart, Ricky Henderson,
nice.
Yeah. Ghislaine Maxwell
Henderson was kind of a Jesus of baseball. So
what does your son think of your work? Like, is he interested by the Epstein stuff, for example? I mean,
he knows what's going on, but he thinks I'm crazy that I spend so much time with this. And I'm like, when you're older, if the country survives this, you'll understand that this is like a really not normal period of time. And, we have to pay attention to these things. It's not just, even my God, what we wouldn't give to go back to the days of W at this point, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was so bad.
God. I mean, heck of a job Brownie had to be more competent than like 90% of the people that Trump has appointed. So,
right.
Sure.
My greatest, and Greg, you might appreciate this, my greatest professional accomplishment of the last several months with my kids and their ages 12 and 9 had to do with a video that I did, I think last week. And it was about Donald Trump's health and, Donald Trump falling asleep. And at one point, Donald Trump was meeting with business leaders and he woke up and they were talking about cellular technology. And Donald Trump is like, I was responsible for 5G. And now you've got 6G. And what's next? After 6, you have 7, 6, 7. And so I stopped the video right there. And I said, we're going to continue with talking about Donald Trump in just a second. But yes, Trump just said 6, 7. And then we did like 40 seconds of explaining what 6, 7 is all about. I showed this to my kids and my daughter was like so proud. She was like, you did it, Dad. Send me the video. That's awesome. I showed it to my son. And when I started getting, and then he's like, Dad, can I have your phone so I can play Roblox?
There you go. Oh my gosh. I had to learn. My kids are 19 and 16. And every time it just 6, 7 would come up in any capacity. I had to learn very quickly that was something to laugh at. So
this is where jokes have gone, right? It's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they said math isn't fun. I don't know,
right? And that we wouldn't need it later on, and we do apparently.
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe they're laughing that 6 comes before 7. I don't know.
Yeah. So what do you see in 2026? Let's talk politics. 2026. Is it the big tsunami that the Democrats are counting on and hoping for and should get? Is it something less? Did things change? Does the economy somehow rebound, perhaps? I mean, what
are we
happened?
still here as a species?
Right.
No range of outcomes would surprise me, from full-on fascism, we're all in the gulag, to aliens come from outer space and save us, to like literally nothing would surprise. I would be like, oh, okay. Nothing would surprise. I don't know what it would take to shock me at this point, but I am concerned that the elections are not going to be fair and that they're going to fuck with them, and not in a Olivia Pope scandal kind of way, in a voter suppression and the gerrymander and all that kind of stuff. I'm worried about that, but I mean, who's voting for this guy? And then, but is he still going to be the president in November? I mean, if he's alive, I don't think they'll ever get rid of him. I think he could be, they'll wheel him in there on a gurney. He'll be in the aqua lung like the guy in the Big Lebowski, and they'll still be,
as long as his body is still warm, they'll have him there. Yeah.
What do you think?
Politically, though, there is something of we saw the jailbreak with the Epstein files. We've seen now, 4 Republicans who joined the Democrats for the discharge petition on extending the Obamacare tax credit. So we'll have that vote in January. So it feels like at least Republicans in Congress are finding their independence, if only for their own survival, right? Because they're trying to find some distance from Donald Trump and trying to find some way to get that anvil off of their neck and show that they're not beholden to Donald Trump in there, because they see the same polls that the rest of us see.
Yeah. What concerns me is the leadership lack. The Dem leadership in particular is putrescently awful right now.
Yes.
The Schumer Jeffries thing is just such a waste of, it's just so frustrating.
Especially when there are so many people, again, there's at least a half dozen people standing around each of them in those chambers that could do so much better. It's not that's what's so frustrating to me anyhow.
And I think also part of it has to, I think whether or not Mamdani is a really good mayor functionally matters. Like if he goes in there and is like immediately turns stuff around to some degree in some very tangible way, that will be good. Because I feel like apart from everything else, he cracked the code on what to do and how to run these campaigns. And it's not because he's a democratic socialist or whatever. It's because he's honest, and he actually, I don't know if he really gives a shit, but he certainly seems like he does.
Well, and he's talented. At being, in front of a camera, at being funny and interesting, and all of that. And there are other Democrats who are now kind of topping that to a certain degree, which good. And have various talents at it too, but he was really talented at it. So, that helps, right? I
love what AOC said. And to that point, there's a certain sort of swagger, I think, that Mamdani has, and that AOC just demonstrated. She was asked about a presidential race against Vice President Vance, and I think her response was, I would kick his ass.
Did she say that?
Yeah. She said, kick his ass. And then a poll came out that found that, she would beat JD Vance if the election were taken today. So, but that
she would always beat JD Vance.
I think that has generational appeal to the kind of generation that we need as Democrats if we're going to be successful at elections.
Isn't AOC the most popular politician in the under 30 whatever?
I think so.
Demo?
I don't know for a fact, but I would guess
she's gonna wind up in the Senate. They'll figure out a way to.
Well, what's happening at this point is the moment they pulled that bullshit with that again after the cave, and of course Chuck Schumer voted against it to pretend that he didn't help plan the whole thing. Gee, Chuck, you really fooled us. I can't stand him either. I think he's just about the worst Senate leader you could possibly come up with. I said at the time, there's absolutely no way he's running for re-election in 2028.
Yeah.
Which there have been hints of that since, but I was like, he will get, AOC, it would be a laugher. I honestly believe she might beat him 70-30 in a primary in New York.
Yeah.
But I think there's a half dozen others in New York or more that could kick Schumer's ass. But I think everyone is so tired of his half-assed lame bullshit on everything. His lack of messaging, his lack of aggressiveness, is just giving in to the Republicans. It's exhausting. You feel like, you feel like you're fighting for the Washington Generals. Is what you feel like. I mean, you really don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, every time Schumer goes up against them, I know he's going to lose. Like I just know. I mean, Jeffries has been pretty awful.
It almost makes me believe that he's controlled opposition. Like it's that bad.
It is that bad. It almost makes me suspicious. Like Jeffries has had a few moments where he's been maybe one of them. Who was he arguing with? Oh, that Mike Lawler, the one from New York, in Always, where he just let it go and started ripping the shit out of him. And I was like, why don't you do this more often? Where clearly he'd lost his temper because Lawler was saying stuff. Every once in a while, Jeffries does something that, you know, so if I was a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I'd give Schumer about a half. And I'd give like Hakeem Jeffries maybe a 3 at best. And I still think we need to get somebody else in the House, but I feel like the Senate's even more important. It's the bigger body, the one that people hear more from and whatever. And Schumer is so fucking bad that like I just wish. I mean, Chris Murphy is sitting right there.
Yeah,
he's right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, next state over, David State.
Or Chris Van Hollen from Maryland.
Van Hollen would be great. Tammy Duckworth would be great.
Yep.
I mean, there's just a bunch of them that are good at messaging, that are get on offense, that don't take any shit and fight back. And I mean, it's just like frustrating as hell.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very good senator for a very long time. He's just it's you know, he's Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback at 42. The game is
I mean, most of his policy positions, I mean, he's a little too friendly to Wall Street and some other stuff, but like overall, you know, I liked a lot of what, I mean, he was great when I was doing work on gun safety. He was one of our strongest allies. It's not to say he's never done anything good, and he's always been, it's just
the moment has passed. Yeah, it's time.
He is, as I think I said, he's not a wartime consigliere. He's more of a playground consigliere, is what I would say. And I would.
This is now you'd post the photo of him going to Roy Cohn's birthday party at Studio 54. That's what it would be cut right to that.
Yeah, I swear to God, you know, you start looking at like all the, you know, the Epstein stuff that comes out. I sort of, having grown up in New York, you don't even have to. I mean, obviously everybody knows who Roy Cohn is or whatever, but all this shit just pops up and you're just like, God, you know, I mean, even if you're on the right side of things politically in New York, you're always hanging out with the most awful people. That has to worsen you as a human. I don't know.
Yeah. Roy Cohn pitched the perfect game for the Yankees against, oh no, that was David Cohn. Never mind. Wrong call.
Dude, hey, I'm a Yankees fan. Don't go for 1999. I can, yeah, I remember the day I was watching it.
Who was he? Was it the Expos? Would they even exist?
It was against, it was against the Expos who existed, and in the stadium was, come on, from the 1950s, who pitched the only perfect game.
Don Larson.
Don Larson was in the stadium. It was Don Larson Day.
No, that I did not know.
That.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
Yeah,
I love David Cohn. He's a great announcer too. So
yeah.
But Roy Cohn sucks.
Yeah,
I'm
with you on both.
Like Roger Stone and other people, where you're like, hey, instead of just being a shitty person and for like one generation and being involved in one generation's scandals, can you do it for multiple generations? Roy Cohn's like, sure, I'll be there for McCarthy and Nixon, Iran-Contra. You know, I'll be there for Iraq-gate. I'll be, you know, and then
Rosenbergs. Don't forget the Rosenbergs.
I got to go pick up kids, but I want to say, Greg, it was great being on with you. And
likewise,
we'll be watching the show tomorrow to see how you handle if there's any breaking Epstein news, and how
that's
that
right.
how that
the
works.
5'8". Well, we're gonna promote all. He's got the 5'8", which you should go on sometime, David. I guess he has to. You know, you have to invite him.
No, we'd love to have you on. Love to have you
but great show that he and Lincoln's Bible. If you know Stephanie, good old LB. They do that show Friday nights at 8, which I know can be tough for us because children and such. We don't all have 21-year-olds going out to party. But then what are you going to tell everybody about? You've got, I know you've got your podcast that is on what's her name's network?
Yeah, Allison's network, MSW Media, and I, you know, the main thing that I have is the Substack, which is my name, GregOlear.substack.com, and it's been 6 years, man, 6 full years of stuff. Like,
yeah, you're impressive. You got in here
yeah,
like ahead of the. You were, you know, I think you were one of the early ones I was reading. I'd see like What's
You're
this
a pioneer.
Substack thing?
Mhm.
You know,
Substack pioneer. Good for you.
I got there not as early as Heather Cox Richardson, alas, but I got there early. So
yeah, damn her for being the early
Well,
adopter.
Have a great holiday season. Regards to you and your family, and congrats to your son. And Cliff, you and I will catch up sometime soon. Great show, my friend.
Take care, David. Thanks for being here.
Talking to you guys.
good
Take
to
care.
see you, David.
Bye. What else we got? I mean, I can chat a few more minutes before I get to the various trials and tribulations of, life as a CEO. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I never aspired to that. And it turns out like it's more fun just talking and writing than like and having to plan things out and stuff. But in any case, I'm not complaining. Life is very difficult, clearly. If that's the worst thing I have to say. You, end of the year, you set plans, family, Christmas?
Yeah, I'm just home. Yeah, I'm just here with the family. We're just doing stuff. Nothing outrageous at all.
Do you have family from other parts of the universe, or is it just a New York-based kind of thing?
New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey, so that's where
you're a Jersey guy. I forgot about that.
Right.
Hey. Which is why, when I was very happy when I said, I don't remember what I was talking about, but when you immediately responded with Adam raised a cane, and I'm like,
yeah, you can't
Springsteen
make fun
guy.
of New Jersey with the Bruce Springsteen thing right behind you.
I'm like I know. I was going to say, you can't tell that I like Bruce at all, can you? And that's actually to me one of his two, but probably that album is probably got some of the heaviest stuff he does. It does, definitively.
I think that's my favorite. I think that's his best album, personally.
I do too. And it has some lighter stuff too, but it's got a couple of legit hard rock songs, which he's sort of more. What would you throw him into? Pop rock, or like there's even there's some folk rock, and there's a mixture of things that he does.
He has his own. He's under his own kind of category.
Yeah, well, he's got a number of influences, I would say, but like that's because of the guitar solos. Often it's a sax solo or it's a piano, or like that's like a heavy metal guitar solo in that song. And I'm listening to that after we're done here and I'm driving home. I'm listening to that song now.
I used the quote from that at the beginning of my Epstein Q&A, the very end of Darkness on the Edge of Town, which is I'll pay the cost for wanting things that can only be found in the darkness on the edge of town, which is that's these guys, man. That's who they are.
No, you're right. I mean, it's perfect. And again, that is, I had to come to that conclusion, because everybody wants to jump in with one of the Bournes as the two albums that, and they're, I grew up on one of them. I mean, of course, like I was perfect age for Born in the USA, as a preteen, almost a teen. And I still love all those because I grew up with them, but Darkness on the Edge of Town. And I still think I have to, and maybe it's the emotional resonance of the fact that I grew up in New York City and I literally saw the second plane hit and was there. But I do think song for song, The Rising is his second best album.
That's a very good album. Good call.
I mean, that would be my argument. Then I would go maybe to Born to Run, or maybe The River, or maybe, there's a few others that could then start entering the conversation for me. But I think The Rising is the second best I would go with. So,
I think somebody could write like a whole thing about analyzing the lyrics of Springsteen and making it parallel with all the Trump Mafia stuff. It would be interesting because he sings a lot about crime in the.
He does.
Yeah.
Well, and especially crime, in the sort of way it takes advantage of working people, and I don't know, Greg. Somebody could write that. Like, let's say there are these guys named Greg and Cliff that were huge Springsteen fans. They almost maybe sometime because pure politics sometimes can be so much that I try to come away from it and bring culture into it. And maybe, just maybe, we could write something like that together. I don't know. I'm going to throw that out there to you.
Okay, I should have a Springsteen quote to respond, but I can't think of one off the top of my head
now. You can't start a fire without I'm just kidding. But the the thing I just wrote, we can end on that because David wrote a great piece when Tom was here about, Trump's reaction and gleeful reaction to the murder of Rob Reiner and all of that, and just really what bad. Trump is and all that. My reaction is just started sort of thinking about Reiner, and I'm like, and I know Aaron Sorkin played a role here and wrote speeches and worked with him on these movies and whatever, but I'm like, he wrote, for our times right now, and even the conversations we had today, he produced the movies that have, to me, the two definitive monologues for where we are. And I decided to quote those monologues and then write what I thought about them. I started off with A Few Good Men, because that at the end, if you look at what he's saying, it's the same thing Hegseth is saying right now. First of all, the irony, not even irony, the movie is centered around a scandal in Guantanamo Bay and around torture. No way that couldn't be, and in the same neighborhood as what we're doing right now, and saying, but the whole thing of, during the great big speech, which I used to quote when I was drunk in college because it was fun, you
want me on that wall, you need me on that wall.
Right. There's that part of it. But even later, like I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to somebody who rises and wakes under the very blanket of freedom I provide, and the questions, the manner in which I provide it. I prefer a simple thank you and be on my way. And my response to that was, no, you see, that's not how democracy works. You don't get to just have them say thank you. You have to explain to the elected representatives and oversight committees and to judges in courts why you did what you did. And if they tell you you can't do code reds, you can't fucking do code reds, because this is a democracy. It's not run by the Pentagon or the military. So that was the first thing I was like, how relevant is that to today when Hegseth doesn't want to go in and testify? He's like, sorry, it's national security. We can't tell you. And it's like, this is the oversight committee, fucker. You can tell them, and you must. And then the second one, of course, was the Andy Shepard one in The American President, where the whole time he's being the classic, he's being Chuck Schumer. He's like, well, who am I to tell the people they're wrong? I mean, if Bob Rumson's out there saying these things and people believe it, it must be true. And you're just like, or the alternative to that is they believe it because he's saying it and nobody else is doing the talking. And if you would go on offense, instead of reading polls and saying, well, that's just the way it is on immigration and crime, if you would come up with a message, get up, call out this motherfucker for who he is, say who you are and what you've accomplished, message people, create a narrative. And of course, that's what he does at the end of the movie, where he finally realizes it. He gets up and gives his barn burner where he does all of those things, defines Rumson, defines what he is for, and all of that, and doesn't sit there and let them get away with, because what have they been going after him on the whole time? The culture war stuff. Oh, he's he's in the ACLU, and and he's like, so he turns it around the way I'm always like, why do we not turn these things around? Like, well, the ACLU is devoted to defending the Constitution. So the real question should be, why don't you want to defend the Constitution, Bob? What do you have against the Constitution? It's like, yes. And so I wrote I think it's coming out today, but that was my piece, and it's on how these two speeches 30 years ago define our times in large ways. And that one of the reasons why Reiner is so brilliant, and Sorkin does get credit. I'm sure he did most of the actual writing, but the production and the performances and directing, played a role there too. So I guess what I'm saying is I like to bring the cultural aspects into them, because there's no politics without culture. It's what defines what our politics is. So
the best part of A Few Good Men, by the way, is like, there's a moment where Tom Cruise, who is one of my favorite actors of all time, even though problematic human, fantastic actor.
Yeah, we have to all go through that, whether it's sports or whether it's just ignoring.
He's interrogating him about the code red, and when he says, "You goddamn right I did," he's about to ask another question, and then he realizes that he doesn't have to, and he has this little look in his eye, and it's just like so good. So you can give Reiner credit for that too, because he got that out of
right. No, there's some perfect moments like that, but I still will say, I mean, I kind of like compared the arrogance and the hubris of Colonel Jessup. I think I was like, to J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth, but I was like, one of those two, has the charisma of an old shoe, and the other one is a bird brain. You can guess whichever one you want of those two individuals. So, I mean, because the intelligence and the charisma that Jack brings to that, I mean, that scene where he's sitting there, even not at the end, but he's down at Guantanamo, you're going to have to ask me nicely. You know, that whole thing. He's like, I can deal with it all. I can deal with the bullets and the fucking heat. You know, you standing there in your, I won't say the word, the F slur, let's say, for gay, whites, you know, and your Harvard mouth, and you show me some goddamn respect, you know? And it's just like, I mean,
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I should watch it again.
I'm going to make my kids watch it with me because I keep telling them how awesome it is, and I need to watch it again. And I'm just like, I mean, Jack is, and not to say that Tom Cruise doesn't do a great job. He does. And I like Tom Cruise a lot as an actor too. Even, you know, there are a bunch of problems.
Nicholson is my favorite actor of all time, and I feel like it's a B+ from him. I think he's overrated in it a little bit.
Wow.
And I love
don't
him.
agree.
Yeah.
I don't, just because, again, everybody just talks about the part at the end. But to me, if you watch him earlier on when he's having a conversation about what to do, you know, with his commander under him, like, maybe we have a responsibility to train the boy. And maybe we're like, to me, they're like, he's even the other scenes he's in, I find him to be excellent. So that's why I but you're right. I mean, look, it's no Shining.
No, it's no 5 Easy Pieces. Right. Or whatever. The quote that I kept thinking of when I read the horrible thing that Trump said was the you know, towards the end of The Princess Bride, when he's like, to the pain, you know, I leave you in anguish, wallowing in freakish misery.
That's right.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
That's another great one. What was the quote I took out of that? Oh, I was talking about, because I obviously used these two movies, but I wanted to reference Reiner somewhere else too. And I'm like, you know, you just made one of the classic blunders, never get into a land war in Asia, you know? And of course I was like, obviously that was true. And we're talking about Venezuela here, but you know, in the context of right now, but maybe we should listen to that line too.
Yeah. Bet against the Sicilian when death is on the line.
Yeah, I was going to say that next because, you know, I probably have things around my office. I mean, my wife is part Sicilian, and that is literally, I mean, you know, if I ever decide I've just had it with this country and can't do it anymore, that will be where I will live, because I fucking love Sicily. It is so underrated. Everybody just knows what they hear from The Godfather and think it's like this mob infested whatever. And it's this beautiful historical crossroads that the Moors, the Greeks, the Romans, the Brits, so many different, you know, Germans that went through at various times in history. I mean, it is so culturally rich. The food is incredible. The weather is great. The people are as nice as can be, and just, you know, their aspirations are so, I mean, people obviously were very successful in business and things too, but their aspirations are around quality of life, which we can't understand in this country.
Well, you know, I saw White Lotus season 3, so I'm aware of all the charms of Sicily.
Get it. So you should go to Taormina, which is a beautiful place. That's actually one of the most touristy of but I mean, I couldn't recommend it enough. Truth is, I probably would end up spending a lot of time down there, but if I were to live somewhere all the time, it'd probably be Rome, because that's just about my favorite city.
Yeah, Rome is awesome.
I like history, so you're going to have a hard time figuring out why I like Rome. And, you know, it's like, I grew up in New York City, and
it's the most like New York of the cities where I've been.
Well, as I say, most like New York, but manageable.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about New York is, New York to me, and I still love New York and still go there a lot. Family's still there, but it just got so big and so crazy. And at Rome, to me, at about 2.5–3 million people, is kind of perfect size. It's got everything you could want, but it, you know, and people drive as crazy as in New York too. So I feel right at home.
Right. Exactly.
All right, my man. I think we got into the cultural part of the conversation. Sometime I'd love to like figure out a way if you and I could do a conversation here and there. I'm putting you on the spot, see, because people are watching, so you can't say no. Where we just talked about cultural stuff. We just talked movies, literature, you know, great streaming series. Like, I think it seems like me, you're also a sports fan, a baseball fan, that kind of stuff. Like, I could just do cultural conversations here and there, and just because, again, I'm going to be talking most of the time about politics, but sometimes I just have to step away for a second.
I understand. Believe me. Believe you me.
I've done it a few times where I've just had somebody on. I'm like, we're talking sports today, or we're talking, because I just can't, like this stuff is going to be what we're talking about most of the time until we right the ship or there's no ship left, because Hexeth has bombed it. And we don't, and so in between maybe some other stuff. But listen, you're fantastic. I really appreciate your coming on here. We had the address before for Greg's for his podcast, but I know it's MSW Media. You can find it there. Greg Olear Substack, right?
Mm-hmm.
.com, whatever.
Just Google me; it'll come up.
You can. The Substack is brilliant, as I said. I mean, if you like good writing, read the man. And the 5/8, which one of these Friday nights, I think last time I was supposed to come on and never showed up because something came up with the family. So maybe one of these times I'll get you to invite me on and I'll actually show. No, I've been on there before, but
we'll get you to come back. We'll get you to come back in the new year.
But this was great. Thank you for being here, man.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yep. Thanks, folks. I appreciate you all being here. We're Thursday, so we're almost there at the weekend. Have a great Thursday night. And I will part with the words I always part with. Greg can see if he knows what film this one is from. My friends, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.
I don't know it. I should know it, and I don't know it.
Should I tell you before I go?
Yeah.
True Romance.
Oh, right.
A great little gem that more people should see. So,
yep.
All right, guys, take care. We are. I'll try to extend it as I go to the Audi video. Audi. Take care.